Carolyn Pitt, I am so excited to sit down with you. I met you and it was like instantaneous that I just had this ping that I was like, I need to dig in with this woman. So welcome to Beneath the Build.
Thank you. And I'm so excited about our conversation today, too. Can't wait to get into it.
So here's the thing, and this is how I work. We're just going to get into it. I met you very, very briefly, and I think on that, I found out that you were an IP attorney.
Yes.
So that was very interesting to me, being a creative photographer, artist, that myself, I'm actually in a situation right now where I'm working with an IP attorney. However, when I looked through your professional experience after we connected on LinkedIn, I was like, wait a minute, there's something from my perspective, my lens, really juicy here because because I see attorney, I see investor, I see entrepreneur, and I'm like, what was this? What was this movement? Because you didn't really, from my perspective, it wasn't a linear thing. A lot of people will stay and work and climb a ladder, and you seem to have really jumped off ladders and said, doing this now, doing that. So tell me about that.
Very circuitous, for sure. I think life is a Seinfeld show where at the end, all of the disparate pieces actually fit together into a puzzle that makes sense. On the way there, you might be wondering, where are we going? For me, my background, and you're right, it is really unique. I've worked not only as an IP and entertainment lawyer, but also as a management consultant, somebody that was providing strategy advice to different companies. I've worked in business development. So I've done a number of different things.
Yes.
And I think that's actually a superpower because it enables me to look at a problem like the one that we're solving with our platform from a lot of different angles and to really understand how to assemble the team to solve that problem. So talent management, expertise, as well as certainly being a lawyer have helped, but all the other hats all come into play at different points in time. And to me, it's just been a fun journey on the way to where I am these days.
Speaking of right now, present day, and you mentioned platform. Let's get into it. Right now, you are the founder of productions.com. And when I went to learn more about that, just a little bit, I saw that in your LinkedIn bio, you had mentioned something around the, whether it was the film business, the entertainment business, when there was, I believe it was a strike. Or it was something to that effect.
There were two labor strikes happening at the same time, yes.
So and I'm just going to say I'm familiar with that because my oldest son's father, my ex-husband, has been in the film business for 30 years. Yes, so he's not on the creative end of it. He's accounting, right? But he couldn't work for, I think it was like over a year and a half. And so again, that's why I'm so excited to dig in with this. Tell me about the platform because in there, if I remember correctly, you mentioned something around like you're not wanting this to kind of happen again. So it's like, what can we build that is going to fix this or, make it go a different way?
Yeah, so what we've done is we've leveraged technology to make finding work and being found for work and finding talent much more seamless for the creative industry and the production industry. Okay. And so our platform is for folks like your ex-husband who we do consider a creative. Production accountants are actually hard to come by. They are in great demand, although you are right that when we had two labor strikes going on at the same time, there were folks that couldn't work because they would have been crossing the picket line effectively. We were able at that point in time to really provide a lot of value to our gig seekers, who are those who were working in the industry, by enabling them to find jobs that didn't violate either of the strikes. And so when you work in film and TV, ordinarily, those are the carve-outs that you're not meant to work on if there's a strike for either your union or your guild.
Right.
And there are a lot of other ways that a production professional can use their skills. So we actually work with a variety of different types of customers. So in addition to film and TV, we work in the live event space. We work with the creator economy and also with commercial work. So working for a brand or an ad agency to create commercials, working on independent films, things like that didn't violate the strikes. We were able to send those jobs directly to the gig seekers who were part of our network. Yeah. Some of them had set up job alerts so that we didn't have to do the sending. They also received it automatically as soon as a job that was relevant for them in their area was on the platform. They got a notification. And for many of them, that was life-saving because you're right, they couldn't work. on things that violated the strike. And that is a challenge for anybody that is doing this full time.
Yeah. And from my experience, again, I never worked in the industry. I was just on the peripheral because of, being in a marriage with someone that was their line of work. But what I really observed with him was that at one time being in film, okay, so whether it was you were on the line or whether it was, you were an accountant, so it didn't really matter. It was like you had to kind of know somebody to get in. And so it was a very different, the barrier to entry, I think, seemed to be greater. And it seems like you're sort of dismantling that.
That's the goal, and that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
We think of it as a democratization for those who are working in the space.
Yeah.
There's nepotism. There's definitely a lot of who you know in order to get that gateway job. That can make it really hard to build a career if you couldn't get that first job to begin with.
Sure.
And so we know that some of that will never go away. But especially during this time right now where cost containment is the name of the game, we're making it easier for our clients and our brand partners to find talent that they probably wouldn't have hired because they didn't know them. Talent that is excellent, that's in the location where they're creating the content. For the brands, it's wonderful because they're saving a lot of money. They're likely not paying any of the per diem, the travel, the housing that they have to pay if they're flying in talent. They're hiring locally, the people who are excellent in their craft, that are vetted, that are verified, who now can have more consistent work. Yeah. A lot of people don't realize it's a gig economy. When you work in production, most of the time it's a gig. So you're always worrying about what's my next gig.
One of the things that you mentioned around the platform that I saw in your LinkedIn sort of about was you said, and I want to touch on because you said the creator economy. So
yes.
I think as we all know, it's not just, everything's not just happening in big movie houses and production houses anymore.
That is correct.
It's right. It's people are building little studios and they're doing their own thing. In some way, I almost see it as if you have a business or you have a brand, you really sort of kind of have to become a little bit of your own media company. It just is what it is with the times that we're in. The second thing I want to say is that you said that there was a job posting for $90,000 to make YouTube thumbnails. Tell me more about the creator end of things, not just the bigger productions. How is that different than saying, I'm going to go on, Upwork or something like that and find someone that can do all my thumbnails?
I'll take both questions in turn. So the first one is, yes, you're absolutely correct that right now you are a studio or a production company yourself managing your own media if you have a company or even if you yourself are the brand. Because now there's so many expectations. There's social media, there's streaming, there's vertical microdramas. There's a lots of different ways that people are now looking to consume content, fresh content from you, whether you are the brand or you own a brand. And in order to keep up with that appetite and that expectation, you have to have a number of things. You've got to have a network that can help you to create quality content like this piece of content we're creating today.
Because it's going to be amazing.
Because it's going to be amazing. Yes. You've got to have the technicians that can do the sound, that can do the lights, that can help you with the editing. Thank you, Brandon. And so if you don't have access to a Brandon and friends, then you're kind of up the creek without that paddle.
Yes.
And you've got to be able to make sure that you can survive in this economy, creating that content at a high quality level, large amount of output, making sure that you can feed that beast. And so in this creator economy time, there are influencers who daily are posting multiple times on multiple different channels with multiple different ICPs or the people who are actually consuming the content, messaging that's different for each of those different types of customers. Yeah. And in order to feed that beast, you've got to really have the pipeline or the army behind you. Yes. And that's what we are providing to those who are brands themselves. And for companies that we've worked with, major Fortune 100 and 500 companies, they very often have to create content, whether it's internal training videos, commercials that they put on airlines or on television, broadcast. And so there are a lot of different ways in which our very deep pool of production and creative industry professionals are suddenly extremely valuable. And how and why it's different from I won't use other brand names, but there are other brands that you can go to find talent. Yes. They're not going to be niche. You're probably going to find maybe one or two editors beside forklift driver and maybe even special ed teacher. If you really are looking to create content and find people who are top of their craft, who are local, who can both help you cost contain and keep the quality and the content level high, we're the place to go. Productions.com is where you'll find that niche community.
Yeah. So real quick, tell me about, you just said, managing cost.
Yes.
Talk to me about that. Because I think some people, they think podcasting, video, all of this, uber expensive, or some people, it's all really relative to whatever the person's budget is. However, talk to me about that, because I do think that some people think beautiful content or nice content, there's it's not as low of a barrier to.
Now, with our laptops, with our cell phones, with AI, which I know can be a bad word in some circles, but it actually does speed up the ability to do all kinds of things when it comes to creating and editing the content. You have the ability now with technology and with these tools to make actually very good content. You probably still need a really good editor if that's not your skill set. But now suddenly you have the ability to create this great content, figure out how to distribute it without having to use a lot of extra money. What you may not have access to, though, is those editors, those people who can come in and do hair and makeup, make sure the lighting is really great like it is in here. And so for us, it's being able to buttress what people already have at their disposal and add on those other additional elements while also giving a chance to those gig seekers who work in this craft and have for years and are always looking for opportunities to help that brand or that influencer to take their content to the next level. And to your second question about what's on the site, I like to say it's kind of soup to nuts. There are folks that are doing student films that are looking to find folks who want to be a part of their production. They may post, opportunity, and it may not be paying very much, but for someone who wants to be a production assistant, who's willing to come on set, and instead of making $350 for that day, maybe they're going to make a little bit less, but now they're building their credits. Then we also have a feature film that, we're working with right now, 2 A-list actors, and so that's a much larger crew need. The types of folks that we're staffing there are all folks that are going to be union and guild members. And for our platform, we're able to satisfy both types of buyers as well as both types of professionals that would work on those different types of engagements. And what's great is until now, it's been really hard not only for the brands to find the talent, but for the talent to find the opportunities. They often hear about something after it's already been crewed up. And your ex-husband may have shared with you, I heard this great film was coming to town after everybody was already crewed. I would have loved to have worked on it. And so for us to be able to have those relationships, make it more available locally, not just here in Atlanta where you and I are sitting, but in every city across the U.S. And so we actually now have a talent network and relationships that span the U.S., Canada, and 31 additional international markets.
That was going to be my next question. I was going to say, is it just national? Is it just here? Do you have plans to expand it to be international, to be like the hub that people can plug into, especially? And again, I just want to also clarify, it's not, you said even someone like my ex-husband who is in the accounting. It's not just the creative.
Correct. It's not. And so for
it's
us,
like, hey, we need a second over here. We need a second accountant, or we need whatever.
That's right. You may need someone that specializes in sales relevant to production, or social media strategy relevant to production. The red thread is production. There's a lot of people that dance around on sort of the periphery as well as at the core, and we're serving that entire population. The goal is definitely to continue expanding internationally. A little funny fact is that our marketing has been focused on North America. However, we've been hearing organically from people outside of North America who want to become a part of our community. They see the value in when someone comes to Chile or to Venezuela or to Canada or to the UK. They want to be a resource as well that can be hired on those productions. And so we've vetted and verified them and added them to the community.
That's great.
We will intentionally have certain markets that we're going to be focusing on going forward as we continue to scale and grow. But, for us, it matters to have great coverage and great talent everywhere that someone might create content.
So just sitting here in the 15 minutes that we've started, I'm sitting here like, okay, she's a powerhouse. Okay, number one. So number two, walk me back a little bit. Where are you from, and what were you like when you were younger? Because I'm really, really interested. And also you're in a sector where, as a woman, I don't even want to say there's a disadvantage, but I'm just saying you're in the room with not as many women, and then also being a woman of color on top of that. It's like, talk to me about that. Where did you come from? how did you get here? And
Venus. I came from Venus.
Yes, okay, yeah. Men are from Mars, women are from
Exactly.
Venus. All right, so go. So tell me, where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I normally say New York, which is true. I went to junior high school and high school there, but my family is actually from the Caribbean.
Okay.
My mother's Jamaican, my dad was from St. Vincent, and we lived in England for the first several years. I'm a U.S. citizen. I was born during one year that he was finishing his PhD, but we moved a lot, so I have a lot of different accents and exposure to a lot of different folks.
Culture, too.
Yeah,
Yes.
and so I think all of that just really was very helpful in infusing in me the idea of, sort of we're all similar enough that we have a lot of the same wants and needs. And in general, we want to be able to have good work and community.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've done in every role that I've had. Interestingly enough, as you mentioned, for some reason, I keep being like drawn to these roles in these fields that are male dominated, from law to technology to entertainment. And I guess I like a challenge. I think it's kind of a superpower. Underestimate me. We'll see how that goes. It's the way that I like to look at it.
Oh, I love that. Please. I love that. Yes.
So I'll
Yes.
walk in the room and you'll make an assumption it's probably going to be wrong. And I don't know. It's just kind of has sort of followed me around in terms of little Carolyn and who she was.
Yes.
My dad was a professor. And when I was 6 years old, my very first entrepreneurial gig, as it were, he was on the college campus. I was there a lot as well because I went to school there and would wait for him after school to be able to go home. I had a great idea. I was going to create my first business. I popped popcorn and I seasoned it with a variety of cool seasonings.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, whether it was the cute little girl with the pigtails or the popcorn or both,
Right.
I would sell out every time that I did it. And I think that's when I got bitten by the bug. And so
You're like, wait.
I was like, this whole business ownership thing is way cool.
Yes.
And so since then, I've just always, although I've worked in corporate America, I've worked in law, even academia for a bit. Love all of that. I think it's great sort of to get the fundamentals, but I think I was built to be a business owner and to build my own thing.
First, you said your father was a professor. So to me, I'm going to make the assumption that education was maybe important in your family culture.
Absolutely.
That was something that was like, hey, we get a degree.
Yeah.
So first, what sort of pushed you into law and then intellectual property law as well?
Yeah, it's so funny. I thought initially, I'm going to be a doctor. I used to love the doctor shows.
Yeah.
And I took my first lab at Vanderbilt University where I went to undergrad. And I thought, I don't like sitting inside for 5 hours pouring things into test tubes. And so, of course, I took the science classes that I had to, but I sort of swerved. And I knew that law was also an interest in addition to medicine. I love to read. Justice has always been a passion, making sure that people get their, just desserts and whatever's rights and the fact that they aren't always equally distributed, whether it's our country or others. So for me, it was an easy choice once I figured out I didn't like labs. And then I was sort of all, passions go after that. I took a few years off in between undergrad and law school, which I think was really helpful. Was still working, but wasn't in school straight through.
Yeah.
So that when I did go to law school in D.C., man, I really hammered it and really enjoyed intellectual property. I love that it's an area of the law that's constantly changing, even today. And that's part of what I really was intrigued by is I've always loved to read. I've always loved to research. Public speaking has never been a fear. And so just combining all that together and the really cool, like true crime and law stories that, of course, we all watch. All of that.
I said, Brandon, why? Sorry, we're veering off again. But I said to him, why do you think psychologically we are drawn to let's just say like, whether it's a murder mystery or it's a crime, solving a crime, because really you're getting insight and you're getting visibility into sort of the underbelly of someone's psyche who's not okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, why do we do that as humans?
I've actually researched it a little bit.
Oh
because
tell me.
I could watch it all day, every day.
Yes.
And night. Like I could watch it around the clock. And what I've come to understand about not just my consuming of it, but others is that it is the way it's presented is often very calming. It has a beginning, a middle, and end. It has the who done it. And by the end, you get to know who has done it, whatever it was, and whether they faced any consequences. And I think there's a satisfaction of seeing that. I think humans also like to know that there are bad things out there that are separate from them that are actually resolved in some way, whether or not we think about that actively. And for whatever reason, it's taken off. Everything from podcasts to entire channels on television about it.
True.
Books,
it's true.
All of it. Yeah.
And I think one thing, the way that, my mind works is I really will pick up on patterns. And so I really not that this is necessarily pattern, but just like you said, seeing something in a linear way where you can be like, you know, this action happened and then this event happened. Like whether
Right.
there was blood splatter that went this way because of something that was incoming this way. Like it's technically actually interesting as well.
Yeah, you're likely to learn something.
Yes.
No matter what it is.
Yes.
It's something that you either haven't encountered before or you've seen it, and now this is a different way of thinking about it. So it's kind of educational in ways that perhaps we don't want to admit that we like.
I know, unfortunately, it's like you're learning at someone else's expense.
Absolutely.
Which was their life. But
yeah.
Okay. I want to know about when you had said that education was big.
Yes.
You started at law school. You thought you maybe wanted to be a doctor. And now you're studying IP, practicing for a little bit. Tell me, was there a case that really sort of revved you up? Or like maybe something that you saw, maybe someone's work was stolen or something to that effect that you were like, huh, okay.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't say it was any particular case or case study. I just was really intrigued. I like property law as well.
Okay.
But IP is just that next step up.
Yes.
And even little things like the Betamax case that's about when the first VCRs came into play and everyone was so concerned that no one would go to the movies anymore and that it would, take the market share. You could actually take some of that, correlation to AI and other technologies where people are so afraid that now it will supplant or replace. And normally it just adds a revenue stream, and normally it adds a sophistication, and normally it adds, a lane for people who are trained in this new thing rather than taking away. And sometimes it does do some taking away. But I just enjoyed sort of being on the cutting edge in the way that a lot of people who are lawyers in other fields don't have, because most of the other law doesn't change that quickly.
Yeah.
I like newness.
Yes. So neuroscience.
Yeah.
I saw that as well. And I don't know if that has any connection to what you just said about, I actually studied this for a little bit, so I can give you a little bit of background on that.
Yeah.
Tell me about how neuroscience really fit into what you've done so far.
Yeah, so I have a degree in psychology.
Oh my gosh.
Anything about the human mind and why people think and act and behave the way that they do has always been really intriguing. And so that goes into law as well. You normally don't ask a question that to someone on the stand that you don't know the answer to or that you suspect may not be what you're asking. Really understanding human nature, body language, and all of that, always very intriguing. And neuroscience, sort of that next wave, once again, about how do we take into account people's brains and how they work to be able to use education in ways that they can better digest and learn new information. So during the time that I worked at an organization that was founded on neuroscience principles, that was sort of the allure.
You just like talking to you, you remind me of someone who just has a thirst for like knowledge and information and when I say, I actually met someone yesterday that I made this statement to, but I feel like it's true about you as well. It's almost like you are a forever student and not meaning you just want to continue to learn, to refine, to sort of bring into your vault of knowledge.
It's true.
That's what I get from you.
No, you're absolutely right. You're spot on. And, people say you turn into your parents. I don't know if you necessarily turn completely into them, but as I move along this journey, I see my dad more and more.
Yeah.
My dad had 2 undergraduate degrees, an MBA and a PhD and a JD. And so I don't plan on getting all of those degrees, but he had that same thirst for learning.
Yes.
That I definitely have.
Yeah. It's like consistently being, I don't want to say a beginner because the expertise, it's not that you're a beginner on that level, but it's just about you're always beginning. You're always beginning to just like continue to unpeel the onion on something. So with this current platform that you have built and are continuing to build, tell me, is this sort of just the start for you? I know you're the founder, but you're also investing in that as well.
Yeah.
Tell me, is this something that you want to continue to do in this space? Or if not in this space, what other spaces?
Great question. Yes, I do actually have plans in addition to investing in my company and in another couple of other companies that are smaller.
Yeah.
I plan on becoming more of an angel investor myself. As we grow our revenues, the goal has always been for me to invest in other founders. Why? Because there is no limit to the amount of expertise and brilliance that really across our country is present. But what is limited is access to capital. And so less than 1% of capital, venture capital, is invested in women of color every year. That is a tragedy. Less than 2% of venture capital is invested in founders of African descent every year. So, the statistics tell us that who gets access to the money to build their companies is lopsided. And part of the way that we combat that is by having angel investors and investors who are focused on equitably making sure the resources are there, because we're missing out on some great companies.
I think one of the biggest downfalls of being an entrepreneur is if you don't have the information as to really how to take yourself to that next level. So if somebody is listening to this who says, maybe I have an idea, and let's say they have talent and they have grit and they have these things, what would be, from where you stand now, what would be your advice to them to say, this is how you can prepare and start to position to actually approach being invested in?
Yeah, great question. There's never been a better time to build a business than now. Why? There's more resources now than has ever been the case. What I would say is do your research, look into incubators and accelerators, which are programs where you can take that idea, even if you've gotten a little past the idea stage, but you can spend some time incubating your idea with individuals that can help you to build it out. Do you need to learn how to wireframe? Do you need to connect with somebody with a technical background to build out your platform? Do you need to do mall intercepts and customer discovery to find out if people are even willing to pay for what it is you plan to build? And what I would say is find these resources in your local town or city so that you can sort of kick the tires and figure out, is my idea something that makes sense? Once you know for sure that whether it's a technology prototype, it's a product that you've developed, once you have that, then it's about learning how to pitch. And I wouldn't call it a game, but there's definitely a lot of process to it. How to do it, to whom you should pitch, how long should the pitch be, what types of investors should I be considering? A lot of that, believe it or not, is not as intuitive as someone might think who hasn't done it. But I'd say step one is really making sure that your product or service is well thought out and ready to be presented, and that you've had the time to really work with people whose job and whose passion is to be a part of an ecosystem that is supporting founders so that they can win when they do get in front of investors.
So if you were to sit down at a table right now, Carolyn Pitt,
yes,
and there's 3 people in front of you, and it's, men and women, right? Yeah. So what are you looking for as an investor in them? Look, they all have a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
All equally impressive.
Yeah.
Okay. They all equally have their ducks in a row. What are you looking for in that person? Because you can invest in an idea. You're also investing in the person.
Oh, you absolutely are, especially the early stages.
Yes.
I'm looking for passion.
Yeah.
I'm looking for grit. I'm looking for that it factor that it's hard to really define other than you know it when you see it, which isn't helpful.
Well, it's more of an experience. You're like, you just met somebody or talked to somebody, you're like, ooh, there's a thing.
Like when we met, we were like, yes, we've got to spend some time together. You just kind of know.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what I would want to see. And I'd want to hear from all 3 of them.
Sure.
And I wouldn't just pick one over the other 3. I'd say, okay, perhaps this is one I do want to hear more from. Let me give feedback to the other 2 if perhaps their ideas didn't rise to that level so that they know what they didn't do. Because oftentimes in this industry of building a business, it's the unsaids that are holding you back. You don't know what's not resonating or what's missing from your pitch. And so for me, it's about paying it forward and paying it backward to make sure they have the knowledge they need to refine their concept if needs be.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's a whole lot.
It is a whole lot.
It's a whole more than meets the eye.
Yes.
And we've raised venture capital, so I have spent time really trudging through it and learning. And it's been a great experience, but it's also nuanced and complex.
As life is, right? I mean, everything in life is. Geez, I know. Where do you really see productions.com going?
Yeah. My answer normally makes people laugh.
Try me.
World domination.
Oh, my God. I love it. You know what it is? You know what that is? Fucking audacity. You have audacity, Carolyn.
Why would we not want to go for world domination? And there's enough dysfunction in the world for us to fix. Why not?
Right, creatively, for God's sake.
Creatively. And there are stories that need to be told. And there's cost that needs to be contained, and there's people that need to work on good projects and brands that need to find amazing people. And that's exactly why we're here. And I'm heartened because we're starting to do more and more work outside of the borders of the U.S. That's exciting to me. It means that, this is resonating not just locally, which is a big deal.
Yes.
But in other markets, there's just as much of a need. And again, it's nuanced and different everywhere you go. But there's enough of a yearning and a passion for people to be able to connect creatively so that they can keep making great content and not spend gazillions of dollars doing it.
So would you consider yourself a creative?
I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So for you, can you tell me a little bit about what your definition of a creative is?
Oh, that's a good question. I think there's a number of different definitions that I kind of weave together.
Yes.
One of them is somebody who builds something. So just by nature of being a founder, I'm a creator. But I also have a creative passion. I can sing. I can play instruments. I have written content. And so a lot of people may not know that because people don't ask me that question.
Yes.
So you're seeing the business side, the more type A classic. But there's definitely a type B that's a creative that enjoys bringing something new into the world and letting it out so others can enjoy it.
Isn't it I thought about this the other day, and somebody might be like, well, that's morbid, but no, really. Like, I thought about it. I was like, if I were like on my deathbed today, I mean, besides the obvious, like my children, right? Like aside from that, what would I miss about being alive?
What did you come up with?
Literally creating. That they're like, I, for myself, and it's not even like creating something fantastical. It could be going to Home Depot, seeing that there's this little corner in the yard that just looks like it has potential, but no one's done anything with it yet. So I'm going to go and create something with flowers and maybe some shrubs and give it life.
Yeah.
That process for me, so that goes from something as small as something like that to something as large as whether it's a business and then how far you want to scale it and all of that. So it's the process of creating, I hate this word because it's so overused, but literally the physical manifestation of getting like inspired, having an idea, trusting your own ideas.
Right.
That's
the whole thing right there.
Oh, yes. Trusting the thing.
Right.
And then allowing it to come through. As a creative myself, I would say the one thing that I'm like, thank you, God, that I am able to, one, be creative, but two, execute.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a disconnect.
Often there's a disconnect.
Yes. And while I think you would agree with me when I say whether you're a founder or whatever, you can't do every role and be efficient.
Right.
But sometimes to get shit off the ground, you've got to do all the roles.
Yes. And it's exhausting.
It is. But I'm saying if you know that you can do it, that you're not necessarily fully, heavily having to rely on someone else, there's a freedom in that. You don't want to stay in that. You don't want to scale your business. You can't scale your business that way. But I'm saying sometimes, an idea will ask that of you.
Absolutely. And you've got to rise to the occasion.
Yes.
And not everybody wants to spend their time that way. And that's okay too.
Yes.
Some of us are crazy enough to think, sure, that sounds great. And we dive right in. And to your point, it literally is, I'm sort of the one source. And then as you bring people around you, you get to take off the hats.
Yes.
And hand it to somebody that knows more about that topic than you.
I want to ask you about this process. What has been the hardest part of handing off a hat? Because something that I've experienced thus far in the things that I've created or businesses that I've had in the past as well is I have a hard time handing off things that I'm like, it won't be done as well as I know that I can do it.
Right.
What are you looking for? And how do you discern this person has, I have confidence in this person to take the hat off? What are you looking for?
You hit the nail on the head. I've got to have confidence that this person is not only better at this, whatever it is, than I am, but that I can count on them to take care of my baby the same way that I would. And that's a unique blend of things. I've been very fortunate with our existing team. As we continue to expand, I've got to use that town mindset and make it into a city where we're bringing in more of the same sorts of folks. But obviously, as time goes, it's harder for me to be involved in every direct hire and, make sure that I feel comfortable. And what I'd say is It's a balancing act. And because I have this newfound desire to have more balance in my world, make sure that I'm taking care of myself as much as I am the business and everyone else, I've got to strike that balance of making sure that I'm confident enough to let go, even if it's slowly, so that those individuals can run their area of responsibility. We still come together. They still report in and let me know what's
Sure.
going on. But to your point, it's not sustainable, and you can't grow if you're holding on to everything.
No.
But you've got to have the right talent and right team behind you. And I think it just takes trust,
Yeah.
stepping out on faith a little bit so that you can let go of the rope a little bit, not only scale, but take some downtime, which I'm still learning how to do.
But I get the feeling that you like actually enjoy what you do.
I do.
As well. I'm not saying that you're not exhausted at times. So don't
I am.
don't take that. But
Yeah.
my son, my 14-year-old, we had some really great one-on-one time last night, and he said to me, he said, Mom, I think you need more time to do something for you.
He's right.
No, he is right. But also, I said, son, I think it might be hard to understand, but some of what I call work is actually an outlet for me.
Yeah.
And he's like, I know, but I think it needs to be something other than work.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, he's so, my son is so attuned. Oh, he is. I'm so lucky. I'm lucky. And he got his braces off today, by the way.
That's even better. Oh my gosh, celebration.
I know. I'm like, 2
Getting all the
years.
gum and the candied apple and ice and all
Girl,
the things.
he was eating it anyway. I'm like, oh my God. So, yeah. So, but I want to ask you, going back to, there were two things that you said that questions popped up right away. If I may, I'd like to just dig a little bit on something you said, which is about letting go. In this process, specifically with productions.com, have you experienced any friction with yourself on letting something go?
It's a great question again. What I'd answer there is that I can't be 24/7.
Yes.
So I am someone that can stay awake very long. I can get up early. I can crank and work pretty much around the clock. Am I going to be my best me? No. Not personally or professionally. Can I do it when it has to happen? Absolutely. I can pull the all-nighters.
Sure.
And perfection of whatever it is that I'm doing is not more important than me as the source, being healthy, happy, and well-rounded. And so I'd say the friction there is always getting it done, getting that next client, advancing the contract, getting it signed. Those are always things that are exciting and that we have to do. And I probably should also take the long weekend off since it's about to be a holiday and maybe see a beach this summer before, everything changes.
Before the sun goes away.
And so it's trying to remind myself that those human things that most folks just think about naturally, when I'm focused, I can forget. And I've got to remember things like eating. I can look up and it's 3 or 4 o'clock and I'm on my next back-to-back call. And I'm like, what's that stomach grumbling?
Oh,
I haven't eaten.
Yeah.
And so just getting better at, I remember, but I don't do anything about it because I'm prioritizing getting the work done. And now I've decided I've got to just make sure that I put more balance in there so that I can be a better me in all facets.
As someone who also, I'm going to go back to your psychology, degree. And so you have obviously a strong awareness around that. You know what a nervous system is.
Absolutely.
And so you understand survival, you understand that, the fight or flight,
Absolutely.
and then, right, okay. So the analogy is, and for someone who's watching, I'd love for someone who's had multiple things that you've done, sort of give me your perspective on when you feel as though, especially with a startup per se, okay? When you feel like the startup's nervous system shifts out of survival. Is that a revenue mark? Or is that the amount of people you have on staff mark?
It's probably more revenue than staff because we can do a lot with a little. We can also bring in contractors. We can be very creative. We have to also make money.
Sure.
And we've got to be profitable. And so for me, that's something that's a driving force. And sometimes that can be in conflict with going to bed at a decent hour.
Yes.
And so that's the friction point there, and figuring out what are the ways that they aren't in conflict. How can I ensure that I'm sort of spreading the wealth so that maybe I am handing off something to someone else to do that I will still review, but now that's an hour that I get back. And learning how to work smarter, that's on my bingo card, as people say these days.
Yeah. I almost see it as like, because that is one thing that I've asked myself over and over with different business ventures that I've had. My
Yeah.
first one was in my early 20s. But I've really analyzed a lot, and I've looked at sort of the operating system that you're sitting in when you're getting things off the ground. And a lot of times it's survival.
It is.
It is survival. So it doesn't matter if you have money in the bank. The concept around there's this thing that I'm trying to bring into the physical,
Yeah.
it's taking everything from you. And usually
Yeah.
you're not, So that's why I was saying, like, where, if you had to look at it as like a timeline, where do you see that sort of start to shift? And is that really influenced by revenue or what? But you answered.
Yeah. And it's great to think of it in terms of a nervous system.
Yeah.
There's a really good book called The Body Keeps the Score.
Oh, I know that one, girl.
And it's, you may think you're getting away with it. You're not.
You're not.
You are going to eventually experience whatever you've done, whether it's depriving yourself of sleep or time with friends or whatever it is. Like, if you don't continually fill your own cup, then you are literally pouring from an empty cup. Can you do it? Probably, but not as well as you think. You're not showing up as your best self. Yeah. And you're doing long-term damage. So I'm aiming to not do long-term damage. And because I'm reading books like that, just making sure that not only do people around me remember, but I remember I'm a person that does a lot of things. And I do think of myself as the source because, to your point, when you have a small business, very often that business and you are synonymous for a while.
Look, I have a whole theory and perspective on that, especially with like the creative end of it, like the thing that's being asked. I mean, I feel like we are all existing in this field right now, that it's like when there's inspiration or there's an idea, there's something that is calling to essentially be born.
Yeah.
And wherever you're operating, whatever tune or frequency you're at, you either pick up on it and you either start to dance with it.
Right.
So to me, that sort of inspiration idea, and then you're sort of the channel for it. If
you choose to accept.
Yeah. No, I know, because think of people that get ideas all the time, but they don't act on it. Like, they're picking up on the same stuff. So, but really what I was getting to, back to your point, is it's very symbiotic, the relationship in the beginning with like the operator or the founder or the CEO, whoever it is, whatever that title is. You're so embedded in it.
You are. And part of it is extricating yourself as part of the work.
I know.
And also being willing to be that source. So somebody close to me who's quite young said recently, "You're a seer." And I thought, I am, but how do you know that, young person? But you may not look at things the same way as other people, and that's a superpower. Maybe you have
it is.
the vision to think about world domination where other people are just like, pass the salt.
Can we get back to fucking Audacity for a minute? Hold on. Audacity.
Uh-huh.
Ooh, Audacity.
Yeah.
Ooh, Audacity. Why you? Why you, Carolyn?
Why
What makes
not?
you think? I know, but what makes you think? Why you? To have the audacity. I mean, I love it. I'm in support of it. But it's like, what? Why you?
Because I've done it before and I'll do it again. Because I see a problem. And I actually have had investors ask me, why hasn't anyone else solved the problem? And normally it means, why hasn't a founder that looks like someone other than you solved the problem?
Ooh.
And I'll say, I couldn't speak for them, but I can tell you that we're solving it really well now, and I'd love to tell you more about it. As a woman raising venture, there are often questions that male founders are asked that are all about how large can this company be? What's not just the revenue potential, but the expansion opportunity. Oftentimes, women founders are asked risk mitigation questions of how you protect against losses, or, what things could derail this concept?
Sure.
What will take away the success of this business? So knowing that, figuring out how's the best way to position and flip that around, because why not me? This is a fantastic opportunity. It has already come to bear in fruition. We're serving tons of clients. We have thousands of people that we're putting to work on a regular. Why not continue to grow and scale this when we've had the reception that we've had, when we've had larger and larger companies that want to do this, when we've identified the challenge being not just here in the U.S., but abroad? Why not put that infrastructure and those rails together and continue building this empire? Why not?
Oh, Audacity. But you have not told me.
What?
The one thing you haven't told me is what actually gave you this idea?
Oh.
What was the impetus for this to even come to fruition?
That's a great question. Those incubators that I was telling you about.
Okay.
Always yearning, always looking for something interesting. I heard about an incubator that was going on for women who wanted to build businesses. And I went, and during the first day, they said, well, let us know what problem you're solving. And I thought, problem would I want to solve? It's the very first thing that came to my mind. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta used to be not so much a production hub.
Right.
And at that point in time, when I was sitting in that incubator, it had become almost the busiest production hub in the world. And eventually it did take over LA. And I knew from the people in my life who work in the industry that they were being overlooked constantly for work, that most of the crew was being at that point in time flown in from LA and some from New York. And I thought, well, that's a problem that not only is intriguing and interesting, but I know it's hurting a lot of people financially on the crew side. And I have to imagine that there's an impact on the brand side.
Sure.
And so it was just wanting to know more about it. And if it was just the people in my world that were not happy with it, or if this was really a thing. And so it literally was just a spark of an idea when they said, what is the business problem you're looking to solve? I put down the little very quick sort of summary and business plan the next day. I pitched it, and the rest is history.
And here we are.
And here we are. We've got a platform. And
how long?
2018 is when I started on this, and the platform, the version of the platform that's in market now, has been there since the very end of 2020.
You've got some blood, sweat,
Right in
and
the middle of
tears in it already.
Pandemic, yes.
Who's really utilizing the platform? From what size are the brands to, is it are they large productions? Is it a one-person production? Can they team up with people? Walk me through the whole view of the end user.
Great question. So we actually have two different types of users,
Okay.
Those who are looking for work and those who are looking for talent. Our job seekers or gig seekers are people who work in the field and have some kind of experience. Even the production assistants have all gone through some sort of program so that they have what they need and can step on set and provide value day one. That being said, the expertise will range all the way up to producers and directors who are themselves creating the content and the narrative for whatever they're putting together. Some of our existing clients include Live Nation. We crewed up the Usher Tour and the Brandy and Monica Tour recently. We've worked with MasterCard, State Farm Arena, and the Atlanta Hawks. We're doing some work right now with Revolt Media. And so it spans different types of brands, films that are feature film size as well as independent films.
Sure.
I'd say we don't see as many independent projects, but we have had some student films that wanted to find crew on the platform. And how it works is for someone that's looking for work, the best part is right now it's free for them to join. They can go to productions.com and create a free profile. It'll enable them to put a sizzle reel if they have one, information on their experience and their education, and they can set up job alerts about the types of roles that they're interested in. They can do multiple. So if you happen to be a photographer who's also a videographer, you can set up one for each of those types of roles. And as soon as a job in your area relevant to that job alert pops up, you'll get notified and you can be first in line to apply for the opportunity. And so for many people that work in the industry, that's kind of revolutionary because, yes, you're still going to hunt and search and peck. You'll still go to job boards. We do have a job board, but you may also hear from our team about an opportunity that's not on the job board. Because we have client partners that want to find out behind the scenes who's the best of the best in town, especially if they don't have a whole lot of time. Just send us some people we should talk to so that we can crew them on this opportunity. So if you are on the platform, you may hear from us, even if you haven't gone and looked for the job yourself. And for the brands, it makes so much sense. They're getting folks that are trusted, quality, experienced in that local hometown. Local is a big deal to us. You shouldn't have to travel to another town just to work.
Yeah.
Part of what really inspired me even to do this business to begin with was a friend who was in the industry. She normally lives in Atlanta, but she traveled a lot for work. And she was a first AD, assistant director. She was in New Orleans, and she heard that Katrina was coming, but she wasn't able to evacuate. She didn't have enough money for a hotel room and for gas because it's a gig economy. So she was sort of living check to check, and she had to ride out the storm in New Orleans because that's just sort of the way things are. And now she's set up on the platform and she's getting a chance to have inbound opportunities as well as the other ones that she's created for herself outside of the platform.
So you said something that I just want to ask, and then I want to go into something else.
Yeah.
But that was interesting. You said for the time being, it's free to sign up.
Yes.
So part of, now I want to hop into the perspective of you being a startup, right?
Yeah.
So is that sort of access in the beginning, like free to sign up, free to use.
Yeah.
Is that also, how is that benefiting you? Because are you gathering the data on how things are working? And so
Absolutely.
it's sort of that reciprocity in the beginning, right? But
It
between
is.
the user and the startup gathering data for either how things can be better or, I'm sure there's a whole list of ways that data can help you guys grow.
Yeah, it's also no barrier to entry. So
Yeah.
for somebody that works in the industry, that especially during those 2 strikes that occurred, there was already tough times finding work. And the last thing we wanted to do was make it even harder to find a job.
It was having to pay to sign up.
Yeah. And so, access for folks and opportunity for folks that were already struggling in the job market, it didn't make sense to charge them then. It still doesn't. We're adding a new tier that is a subscription. We're not taking away the free tier, but that will have some additional features that will make it easier for those who are finding opportunities, particularly those that are producers that are both finding crew as well as opportunities that we'll be rolling out in Q3, which now that we're in the middle of the year, I guess it is Q3.
So are you excited about that, though?
I'm very excited.
And what are you doing to really, are you doing any sort of press tour? Like what's happening with that? How are people learning about this other than, obviously you've already built yourself a network, you have a network, but how are people finding out?
We have very active social channels.
Okay.
We also do a lot of email marketing and campaigning that is very targeted. We have a listserv of folks that subscribe to our newsletter, over 96,000 people that are looking for industry news and information about jobs in their town and in towns that they choose to work in, because some folks might decide, I live in Atlanta, I'll work here. I also work in New York. I have an aunt that I stay with and I want to work there. Our platform enables them to identify the additional markets as well. And so for a lot of it's making sure that we're using industry trades and our own channels to get the word out there. And we've got some new marketing pushes that will be coming out as well, so that people know about the new feature set, as well as some AI tools. I know AI is a bad word in some of our creative industry circles, but we're using AI for good to make it easier for you to find the right job. And so there's some elements there that we'll be talking about too.
For me, I just want to say, to speak to the AI. AI for workflows has been great.
Yeah.
AI for cutting down on certain time things. But I know what you mean by saying AI, and I know that it's kind of a mixed bag with AI. But I do think AI has been a little, people are sort of overusing it, and you can tell.
Mm-hmm. And you can tell, but there are ways that we can use it that are helpful. On our platform, we have an agent on the front. Her name is Indy. She will ask you questions if you want to engage with her, if you're looking for work or if you're looking for talent. And not only will she help you navigate the platform, but she'll give industry advice on how to position yourself. Do you need a resume? Here's some things to keep in mind. These are helpful things. And that wouldn't have been there 5 years ago before we had AI. That being said, we're very human-centric. There are people behind the curtain. And so in addition to our technology, especially for our clients that do a large volume of work, we still provide concierge-level support, and our team is still very much involved.
Oh, I love that. So right now, it is July 1st, 2026.
It is.
Where, not where do you want, where will you be July 1, 2027? Audacity right now.
World domination. No, we will be.
It might take a little bit more time.
We have 3 international markets where we are focusing a lot of our time. We already have a lot of crew in those markets. We've already done work with brands. We'll be doing more focused work with brands to grow our footprint in those areas, as well as continuing to grow in the U.S. and just expanding the logos and the brands that we get a chance to work with, as well as the fantastic, workforce that keeps our entertainment and edutainment running. We're going to continue to grow on both sides of our marketplace and influence as well. We started with hiring, but we purposefully have a very large URL. We have some other surprises coming down the pike as well.
Ooh, I'm so excited. Well, I will say this. I've absolutely adored, loved sitting with you.
Likewise.
And really digging into this. I am going to be watching productions.com closely because I want to see, for me, the main thing that I think is so cool, in addition to the features, is the fact that you're really sort of ripping down the red tape.
Yep.
And you're like, no more gatekeeping.
No more gatekeeping.
And there is going to be access for everyone in an industry which has very much been dominated by who you know.
Yes.
And, going through those channels. So, kudos to you. And I'm really, really excited. And like I said, I love the audacity aspect of this. Yes, please. Sign me up. Sign me up. So I was going to say, where can people find everything
Yes.
about it and how can they sign up?
Love it. Love the questions. And thank you. Yes, access and opportunity are the very reasons why I began the platform, the reasons why our team works hard every day to make sure that there are new things that will resonate and be life and career affirming for the people that we serve. You can find us on the World Wide Web at www.productions.com. You can also look at our Instagram, which is Instagram /Work with Productions. And our LinkedIn is actually quite active as well. So if you go to LinkedIn /company /Work with Productions, you'll find us there as well. As I mentioned, you can sign up for our newsletter. You can create a free profile if you work in the industry. Allows you to list and showcase what you've done, the types of tools that you use so that we can find you in your hometown when you're ready for your next gig.
I love it. Carolyn Pitt, you are a force.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
And likewise.
Awesome. Thank you.